That's awesome.
Let's see. I got confirmation that the new dialogue is coming in our next title update, so that'll be not a micro patch. That'll be one of the next big update because that involves code. So it is coming though, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So now I see Torvald and Sunny coming into the mix now, being picked, and Laz again. And Maggie. So, and is he going to go with Goliath this time? So Goliath, we made some adjustments to Goliath, and already a lot of people are confused by it because Goliath on the balance, looking at telemetry stuff, he's a little bit under compared to the other monsters. He's still really powerful in really skilled hands. But a lot of people were concerned because we took we added 2 seconds to his stamina recharge time when he's in combat, and where that comes from is really the high level tournament games where Goliath we crank that number basically as almost as high as it could go, so that he never ran out of leaps when he was in combat. And the thought process there was like, well, if I'm in combat, I want to get to this guy and smash him, then jump to this guy and smash this guy. So we were thinking combat. But what happened was people have started to use it for arena running. Yeah. So they get domed, and then rather than fighting, because they have so much maneuverability, so much mobility as Goliath inside of a dome, they can just leap, and there's almost like zero cooldown time, almost zero time that you have to be on the ground. So we added 2 seconds. Honestly, I think it needs to be more like 4 seconds. But we wanted to. We're taking a little bit different strategy with the micro patches here because we can update so often.
Yeah.
Rather than going. I've been backing off of where, so if we thought we needed 4, let's try 2 and see what happens, because if we overshoot, then I think that starts to get things sort of confusing if we're ping-ponging back and forth a little bit for people. So I want to be more kind of committed and firm, and I want to move. I want to just make sure we're moving in the right direction the whole time, as opposed to having to go back and forth.
Sure, that makes
so
sense.
That's why we're being a little bit more conservative. So, but I think point being, unless you're dome running inside of a dome as Goliath, you're never going to notice this change. It's not going to affect 98% of the Goliath players out there. Are never going to notice the difference at all.
Awesome. That's a good explanation for it. I think that's what everybody wants to try and get out of this when they see the patch notes come up, and what exactly do some of these things mean to us, the players. So
where they come from. So it's one of the things, like we posted the balance updates on the forums, but I want to go back, and I did write up summaries for where this stuff comes from, so maybe we get to do a blog post or something where we kind of talk about what our thought process is behind everything.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It looks like I'm going to go play, and Chloe's
Nice.
going to come in and talk to you.
That's cool.
And you guys. All right, here we go.
You need a tongue grab, Sam.
Awkwardly walk across the mic. What? What do you...
Some confusion about where Chloe's going to sit.
Go play, man. I got you. I got you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
Now, look, you're Dave.
I'm Dave. What's up, Dave? Me.
Does that get updated? No, you're just permanently Dave.
I'm sure. Alright, I'm just gonna stick that in my ear. Not gross at all.
Are we doing observer mode this time?
No, we don't have a 6th computer.
Oh.
We wanted to make sure that we had awesome players.
Because Sam failed with his without his tongue.
Yeah, well, that any map that's got significant elevation changes, that tongue grab's gonna be super important, right?
Yeah. What are you thinking? Next time, painful lesson in front of millions.
Also, since I was playing, I didn't get to see what you guys talked about, so I apologize if I revisit some stuff. But hopefully, there's people joining the chat all the time, so it won't be repeat for too many people. Yay! Look, I'm a Chloe.
That's
wonderful.
better. You're a much better Chloe than a Dave, in my opinion.
Sorry?
You're a much better Chloe than a Dave, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've never thought about being a Dave before.
There's a question.
Not until today. There is a question.
Oh, wait. You sent that question. That's amazing. How did you do that?
I used my mind. It's the powers of my brain.
It says from Chloe.
Yeah.
What does zero-out spread on Val's Trank mean? Is this a no-scope spread? So
I actually had the same question.
You did?
I did, yeah.
So we hit both. We hit
It's
Val
on Abe as well.
And Abe.
Yeah.
So let me say where this came from.
Sure.
So the way the weapons work is we have the weapons have a spread, a min and a max, right? And typically, like the faster you shoot, you'll see the spread when you're Maggie and you hold the button down, the fire button, the crosshairs start small and they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh,
and that's
so
why. So if you do a burst, they'll stay more accurate.
Abe's shotgun as well.
Abe's shotgun, yeah, as well does the same thing. So, so that's a spread modifier when you're shooting. But then there's also, if you'll notice, if you're Maggie and you're shooting and then you jetpack, that spread will pop much larger. So you're less accurate when you're jetpacking.
Okay.
So there's a penalty there. There's a penalty for jumping, jetpacking. There is also, in the system, there's support for spread multipliers when you're turning. So just to turn, if I sweep my mouse or the joystick to the right, there's support for that. We don't use it.
So 360 no scope is actually super hard.
And it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be there. I'm not even 100% sure that it was doing anything. But we did have a lot of forum talk where people were like, "Hey, what's up with the trank dart? I can't hit the trank dart. It's like ridiculous. Like I'm aimed perfect. I'm zoomed in.
Yeah.
I make a little adjustment. I pull the trigger and it goes off over here, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's the only thing that we could see. It shouldn't have been there. It's the only thing that we could see of that might be it.
Okay.
So just in case, we zeroed those out for Abe and for Val. Val's was a base. So when you scope in, there's also multipliers that apply for that. So like Val's spread is worse, and then when you zoom in, there's a multiplier that's less than 1, so like 0.5 or whatever. So now it gets tighter.
Oh, okay.
When you zoom in, but it's a multiplier on top of the base. So if her base was getting spread when she turned, then even when you were zoomed in, would still have that affected.
Oh, okay.
And
cool. So they're going to get more accurate is basically the sort of too long didn't read version.
Basically for both the dart rifles, they should be more reliable. If that functionality, if that was actually doing anything in there, it should be better. But we're not 100% sure, so let us know. If you're one of those people who had a hard time landing with the tranks,
hopefully that'll get easier now.
Then hopefully it gets easier, and let us know.
Awesome. So we are going to be talking about this team, which is actually...
There's another question. You want to ask?
Yeah, I thought we were... Oh, we do have Slim. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so this is going to be Abe, Sonny, Slim, and Torvald. There we go. Woo. Let's see. Who do you want to talk about first, Chris? Do you have a preference?
Slim. Let's see. For Slim, well, mostly for the Team D characters, all we did was bring damage down.
Right.
So
yeah, because they came out a little strong out of the gate. So let's bring it. Yeah, we got Slim here with this.
Well, I guess okay. So Slim, we brought his damage down 30%. He was doing so. This does not, to be clear, this does not affect anything about how quickly he earns the heal burst.
Okay.
Back. That doesn't have anything to do with damage output. So all we're doing, the way that it works is he's got I think 8 pellets that fire out of that leeching gun, and if 8 of those land, you get X back, but if 6 of those land, you get less.
So it's based on how many shots hit.
How many pellets hit.
Not how much damage you get.
Is how much heal burst you get back. So all we did was touch the damage. All we did was say, instead of those, each pellet was worth 10 points of damage. We reduced them to 7.
Okay.
Each pellet's now worth 7 points of damage. And again, that's just because he's doing 200% the damage that Lazarus. And Lazarus was always supposed to be also a heavy damage dealer because he's not actively healing. He's always shooting with that sniper rifle. So Slim should be higher than Lazarus in our opinion. He's still a combat medic. Should be higher than Lazarus, but shouldn't be double Lazarus.
Right. Yeah. That's a
so
lot.
that's why we brought him down 30%. So we feel like he'll still be, 20% higher than Lazarus. He's still going to be powerful, but it was just too much right now.
Yeah, because I'd also had the question before on a different stream that people were wondering if you took the damage bonus character perk, did that affect how quickly his healing recharged, and that what you said earlier answered that.
And we did start that way, but then it just got too crazy.
A little silly, maybe.
It got super crazy because then Slim could heal crazy amounts with damage bonus perks and all kinds of stuff. So at least this way, I'd like taking increased capacity with Slim because I get to have more shots. But at least it limits it to things. How many pellets he lands as opposed to damage. So we also did we increased. He had a proximity detonation radius. So what on the spore cloud?
Yeah, grenades, which you're seeing this medic player using quite a lot, which is perfect.
So we have that on grenades. We have it on rockets, and primarily it's for hitting Kraken in the air.
Right.
So. But the radius was quite small. I think maybe it was like 2 meters. If you look at Bucket's rocket launcher, those rockets have a 4-meter detonation radius. So if they get within 4 meters of Kraken, they'll burst. So we matched Slim's spore cloud grenades to that. So I think they're also 4 meters per second now.
How does that
4-meter radius
compare to Hyde's toxic grenades? Because we did a similar thing where we let it have in-air detonation.
Yeah, we also did that with Hyde because...
That would have been last patch, though, I think, or the patch before.
No, there is...
Oh, we do? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So Hyde's...
so we increased it. Okay.
Hyde's got even bigger. It was already 5, but it's... So, if you look at Slim's, and it comes down to how easy it is to do, but if you look at Slim's spore craft, he has a grenade launcher, and it fires out of there quite fast.
Yeah.
And doesn't arc a ton. Hyde's grenade, since it's handheld and thrown, travels real slow. It arcs. It doesn't have much range.
Right.
So we wanted to be a little more forgiving on the radius of that, and so we increased that proximity detonation to 8 meters for him, so he can use it against Kraken.
That is cool, and I kind of jumped the gun there, but it's all similar sort of mechanics. So just the name of Hyde. So I have something blocking my question now, but
somebody asked about Slim's mastery being very difficult. We're definitely aware, and it's in the next micro patch, so probably within 2 weeks. The next micro patch update will have new mastery numbers for adjusted mastery numbers for all of Team B and Behemoth.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we're seeing really solid play from this Slim character, Slim player. So doing a really good job of keeping that healing drone working, throwing it out whenever he can, making sure to put those spore clouds out, shooting as much as possible to recharge his healing burst.
Who's on the monster this time? Do you know?
Who's playing monster? It's still Sam.
Better win, Sam.
Working hard on Goliath. So let's see here. Who else? Who do we want to check out next? We also have. Let's see. Torvald's getting focused a little bit. We check out Torvald. So what did we change? We've got changes on Torvald as well.
Torvald, with Torvald we did, we primarily wanted to look at his damage. He was out-damaging all the other assaults. And...
Yeah, because those mortar cannons were strong.
And they're still strong. But we slowed the reload time on his shotgun a little bit. And we took 10% off of both the shotgun and the mortars. So we should see Torvald's overall damage come down by slightly more than 10% overall in the telemetry, which if that's the case then puts him in line with Hyde. which is where we really want him to be.
Yeah, I mean, I played him last round, and it didn't feel drastically different to me. I felt like when I was landing mortar cannons, I still felt like it's still really satisfying.
10% is very small and hard to notice.
Yeah.
But it's the accumulation, right? Over the course of an entire round, 10% might make the difference between him being overpowered and him being right where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So interesting but true story. When we put this update through a certification process, when we put it through the QA process, they initially thought that Torvald was doing more damage than before. And that's how hard it is to tell.
Right.
Because all it is 10%. It's very hard to tell with one burst or with one shotgun that you're doing any difference at all. So hopefully people do really enjoy playing Torvald. They're having a lot of fun. Difference between Torvald is in the burst damage, really. If Markov is super reliable, right, with that lightning gun.
Yeah,
with Markov, you're never going to miss, right? You don't spend ammo when you miss. And you can hit a target who's bouncing around all over. That lightning gun follows him. So when you think about Torvald's mortar being really powerful, it is really powerful when it hits. But you miss a bunch of times too.
Oh yeah.
And every time that you're missing, if you imagine Markov being in there, Markov would be landing those hits every second, damage per second, over
That's
and over and over again.
That's why I really like Torvald against Behemoth, because Behemoth usually, he takes a little while to charge up attacks or whatever, but Torvald against Kraken is miserable. Because I'm like, especially with good Kraken players, they are so good at dodging in the air, like, because, that's a huge part
surprisingly,
of how you play damage.
we looked at it in telemetry because somebody on the forums asked to see the data, Torvald versus Kraken, and he's still favorable. He still does really well.
Yeah, it's
online.
Just, that could just be my playstyle.
But I think I think it is real that Torvald has an easier time landing those shots on Behemoth. So I'm definitely, when I'm Behemoth, I try to take that wall and I try to focus. I'll focus Torvald, or I'll try to block him away from me to keep that damage off of me. So it's something you have to be aware of and respond to in your sort of strategy. But at the end of the day, we want all the assault players, all the assault characters, to have different play styles and stuff. So we think this is right for Torvald. We just needed a little tweak.
Definitely. Let's see what else. Let's talk about Sunny, because we have a question. Excuse me, about giving a cooldown to Sunny's drone.
Right.
I mean, Sunny's drone has a cooldown of
so it's something.
sorts.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's not visible to the player how the drone works. So maybe it's one of those things. We're not going to jump right on this immediately with our first patch, because people have sort of a perception of what it's doing that maybe is not accurate. So when I throw that drone out immediately, it can't start shielding immediately. You see, it just started to shield now. So when I throw it out immediately, what we wanted to do was we started off, unlike everything else with the drone, like if I am Hank and I have my personal shield, when I pull that out, it starts at 100%.
Yeah.
The drone starts at 0. So when I deploy the drone, it starts with 0 energy, and it has to start charging. It takes 8 seconds to fully charge, but it will start to shield at 20%. So it'll start shielding soon, but it doesn't hardly have any juice at that point. So if we're already in mid-fight, the idea being that, like, if Hank can react really well, I can see somebody's in trouble, monster's going after somebody, I can pull out the shield and I can shield that guy right now.
Before they take any damage.
Before they take that damage, right? I can anticipate and I can react. The drone, for it to be the most effective, if I just throw it out in the middle of combat, it's only ever going to have 20%. Because it's going to keep shielding as much as it can, and then it's going to run out, and then it's going to go back to 20%. It's going to shield again, it's going to run out. So it's going to be really unreliable in that scenario. If I throw it out ahead of combat, if I throw it out before we start fighting and it has a chance to charge its full battery, then it's a lot more effective. So I think the key to it as the monster is to I think be aggressive and if that shield, if they trap you and you immediately start doing damage, even though that shield's going to kick on, it's going to kick off really quickly. So you can keep it, and so you don't have to address it if they throw it out too quick. Or I find that it's not too bad to, what I really like to do is, like, if I'm Behemoth, for example, I have enough points in Fissure where it's going to take that shield drone out in one hit. So what I like to do is, like, roll around and get somebody standing too close to the drone and then hit them both with it, right? Just take out the drone and do a bunch of damage to the hunter at the same time.
Sneaky plays by Chris Ashton.
Somebody also asked about Behemoth's double damage not showing through his back when he rolls. So we did make it smaller. So it was actually protruding out of his side. It was so big, it was protruding out of his side. So you could hit it, you could trigger it from the back. It's much, much smaller now, so it should only be triggerable from the front. But it is still, you're still able to hit it in the roll because that was a code change and not a balance update change. So we can include that in the next title update 3. But we're interested to see. So what's happening right now is when Behemoth is in the roll, he's still all there. And so if you shoot his limb, you're going to get 50% damage, right? But we don't call out 50% damage. We only call out when you hit a 2x damage. So a lot of those shots when he's in the roll, he's only taking half damage if you hit one of his arms or back legs or tail. So typically if the ball's rolling towards you, though, you're gonna be able to shoot and hit the weak spot still.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's also just for projectile-based weapons. So if he's rolling in a toxic grenade cloud, or if Markov's shooting him, he's just going to take normal damage.
So normal damage for projectile weapons, we consider that 100%. That's the same thing as torso damage for a projectile weapon. That's what all explosives do. And the lightning gun also does torso damage. Everything else will hit, projectiles will hit limbs. So right now you're hitting, it's a lot smaller. So chances are you're statistically you're more likely to hit the arms, which are 50% damage, than you are to hit the stomach, which is 2x. So we have that code fix that we didn't want to put it in, like the PC hotfix. We're not sure if we want to put it in the title update 3. Because it might actually make him even weaker. If he's just normal 100% in the ball, it might make him weaker than where he is now.
Oh, right. Interesting.
So we want to see where it's gonna. We want to see where it is in this balance patch, and if it feels better to everybody, then maybe we just leave it alone.
Yeah. Because we look at all the telemetry.
Yeah, we look at the way. It's really important to talk about the way that we make a lot of balance changes. So we kind of base it on 3 things. One, feedback from the community. So, and that's from everybody. Like, if you're a brand new player, your immediate reaction is important to us. If you're a very high level player and playing in tournaments, that's very important for us. So we're on the forums and we're looking at feedback. Even if we don't reply to all of those comments, we're still taking that stuff as data points. These are people's perceptions. Like, regardless of whether it's true or not, they're in their perception. This is what they're thinking, right? And that's valuable to us. And then we look at our own observations. So a lot of us are playing the game very, very regularly, on every night, playing a bunch of rounds on various platforms. So we have our own perceptions and we know the way things are supposed to work. So that information is valuable. And then we also have telemetry, all of our data that we're collecting from every game that's being played. And we combine all those things with kind of our gut reaction of like how we think we should go about trying to solve this problem. And that's where we base the changes on. So it's not based, a lot of people were worried on the forums that we were just basing our balance changes off of the vocal minority, right? But that's not the case.
Not how it works. Because I mean, and we've seen that, right? We've seen that where people are going, oh, this character seems to have this problem, and then we go, okay, well, let's like look at the data from that, and the data's got like a 50-50 win, and we're like, okay, well, this just is more of an education problem and like a strategy problem than an actual game balance problem.
There's always a lot of variables, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, and you have to sort of carefully consider all the variables and make good decisions. This is coming down to quite.
It is. Let's talk about Abe real quick before we. I guess we already kind of talked about that. Is the only change to him was the making that tracking dart pistol easier to hit with and more.
Glass getting really mad at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
And that's the trade-off, right? With like, if you're going to target the shielding drone, you're going to be getting damage from other places. Like, there's always trade-offs when you choose an objective.
And I am not sure. We may wind up making adjustments to the shield drone, to Sunny's battery jetpack booster. We don't know, but those are the things right now that are more complex and not quite as immediately available or immediately obvious what needs to happen with those. And players are getting used to them. We have to give players time as monsters to figure out how to counter them, come up with strategies. We have to figure out give time for hunters to figure out how, combinations of hunters and stuff to get the most out of it. So we want to let that stuff percolate a little bit before we jump on it and do something rushed.
Right.
We want to make sure we take our time. Damage is super easy. Everybody understands damage, and we have really good telemetry on it, so that's really reliable for us. So get damage in line. And now we don't have to worry about that. Now let's worry about what's left.
Right, because I mean, what telemetry are you looking at when you're going, okay, is jetpack boost too strong? I mean, it's like, how do you, well, it depends who you're jetpacking, and it depends on your timing, and are you in combat, are you out of combat? Like, is that, if I look at how many times the monster's domed, is that related because Sunny is boosting the trapper so much that they're getting ahead and they're, so it's like...
and we can dig in and we can find that data. We can start looking at when Sunny is in the game, how many times do monsters get domed?
But that's not the only thing, right? And you have to be watching people play to see how they're using it. So it's just, I think it's easy to go, oh, well, this feels bad and you guys need to change it. But, it's obviously like you said, damage, those are numbers that are easy to look at, and there are other things that are perhaps a lot more time intensive to.
And I think especially once within 2 weeks when we do the next micro patch, and people start to see this pattern of close to weekly updates, that people will relax a little bit more because. I think it's really hard if the game doesn't get touched for 2 months, like right after our initial release, right? But if updates are coming a lot more quickly, then, if something's not where you think it needs to be, you don't have to stress out too much because a next patch is coming, right? And so we have lots of opportunities to make adjustments. So we don't have to try to get it all done in one patch,
right? Because more is coming.
Because we got more coming. So.
And we are still listening to people's feedback, and we're still, it takes, like you said, time for people to figure out the strategies. And we've got so many different people playing with so many different play styles. There's people streaming the game. There's people making videos. Obviously, personal first-hand experience playing with your friends. So, we need that feedback. It helps. So I think it's time for me to step out and we get some Dave back in here. Any questions? Well, no. Hi.
Dave, he's back.
Unclip myself.
Oh man, they're being really fast with the name updates this time.
Yeah, you don't get to be Chloe.
You don't get to be Chloe.
You must be sad.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna go.
That's why I shaved. What?
All right. Wow.
So many papers.
All right. How did I do? I think I did all right.
Oh, were you playing?
Yeah.
Which character were you?
Sunny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did all right.
Well, you guys won, right?
Yeah.
Crushed him.
Having a hard time keeping up with those guys.
Yeah.
Though. They're just so fast.
Yeah.
And I think I learned something because I was just talking to them about it, and while I'm playing online, I'm normally actually ahead of everybody else.
Right.
And so, and I've mostly been playing Trapper, so I'll be running, drop the dome, turn around, and oh shit.
That's the worst, yeah.
Yeah, 100 meters or more behind. But in this case, like, they were always in front, and I was also obviously using the jetpack booster, so I was pushing them even further. And I think what was happening was I was sort of panicking that I was so far behind, and then I was not doing like the feathering that I would normally do with my jetpack. I started to try and jetpack burst and chase, and then you're just drained all the time, and then you're just like slowly trying to catch up. So that was an interesting little bit of gameplay.
Yeah.
Let's have the patch notes. All right.
So Hyde, we talked about that. His toxic grenade should be easier to hit a flying Kraken with. So
awesome.
It's easy enough for Kraken to be like, oh, this sucks, I'm taking damage, and move out of that. But it's nice to be able to force Kraken to have these no-fly zones that you're putting out in the air. So that's cool. Val, we talked about that. I don't know how much of a difference that adjustment is going to make on our spread on the Trank, but hopefully it makes it more reliable. We don't know for sure. Shouldn't have been there though. So it's a value. Shouldn't have been there. We took it out. Let us know if you think it's better.
Before we move on to the next one, how does that, like, for I guess for the layman, what's exactly happening here?
It's just when you turn.
Yeah.
When you turn to aim, the spread. What the function of that is that we have the ability to make the spread get worse on your bullets when you turn.
Got it.
Right. So if you're aiming at the monster, then you make an adjustment, even if it's just a little adjustment, and then pull the trigger, your spread for that fraction of a second when you turn, the spread could get bigger, and then the bullet could go off. So
this is increasing that.
It's zeroing it out, meaning that like we remove that function. So
I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah. So you zeroed that out. So right now, if I'm aiming at the target, it's not going to potentially move.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter whether I'm holding perfect still or whether I'm tracking a target.
Got it.
If I pull the trigger, it should go where I'm aiming.
Awesome.
So hopefully it's better. And then Bucket, Sentry Guns. One thing we wanted to do, we wanted to start nudging Bucket a little bit towards some high level play. He's not chosen at all. He's chosen a lot, I think, in when people just play for fun. But when people get really competitive, they're not choosing Bucket. And one of the reasons we think, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is because his Sentry Guns don't have enough range to get to Kraken.
And Kraken's a very popular pick right now.
And Kraken right now is the one that the monster players are tending to choose in competitive play. So we bumped it by 10%. And again, our strategy now is to always move things in the right direction. Not necessarily that we need to be moving immediately to the right place, right? So they might still need more range. We don't know. We just know that 10% is better than where it was. They're going to have 10% more range, and then we want to see what happens. Like, is that enough now? So
awesome.
So we'll see. Yeah, I think it's a move towards the right direction, and that's what's important. Are we moving in the right direction or not? Let's see. What else did we get? They're playing Wraith now. So Wraith's super interesting because there was the big Wraith is OP thing, and we made a bunch of adjustments to Wraith as well as to the mobile arena to try to bring her down. And what we're seeing in telemetry, she still actually has a really favorable, well, not really she has a slight advantage overall on average across all ranked players. She still has a really good win-loss ratio, slightly better than the other monsters. So we're not too worried that we nerfed her too much,
sure.
Right? Is always the panic from people who are a fan of that character. So, but the one thing is that I remember when we were testing her internally, she had so much mobility. The warps were so fast that she almost instant, because we wanted to feel like a teleport, right? So it was almost instant. She was here, then she was here, then she was here. Warp blast was crazy fast. So it was really hard to follow her. So to compensate for that, we brought her stamina down really low, so that while she could burst really quickly in one direction, she would run out, and then she'd be a sitting duck for a while, right? And then she'd wait for the stamina to come up, and then she'd burst, and move really fast, and then be a sitting duck. Well, because of her ability to escape the domes, and also player frustration when fighting her in combat, we wanted to slow down the warps. So now it's just it's still quick, but it's not instant. She travels. So now in combat, it's a lot easier to see. Oh, she's here, and then you see her go to here, and you can still keep a beat on her.
Cool.
But what happened is that we slowed all of her traversal down, all of her speed down, made her easier to track, but we